Hi folks, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Payal and I am a traveler who also loves to meet people. And I think a blend of both is where this concept of melting pot has come about. In my Melting Pot series, I will be talking to lots of inspiring people from different parts of the world and also from different cultures, whom I meet during all my travels. The common factor between these folks will be the desire to follow their passion and make it a way of life. So step into this melting pot and enjoy the chats. Welcome to another weekly Melting Pot episode. Today I'm in conversation with Brice, and brace yourself, I'm going to try and say it absolutely correctly. Brice's last name is Degeyter. He's the general manager of Bizsu, and I can see him nodding his head, which means I got at least close enough.
It is.
I'm relieved. So Bizsu is a French startup which is based in Singapore. And I know that Brice, from whatever I've read up about him, is very, very deeply connected with sustainability. And he did something quite amazing in Thailand, in Bangkok, when he lived there. And I'm not going to say more because I'd like Brice to talk to us about his journey. So thank you so much for being a part of Melting Pot, Brice.
My pleasure.
A little background on you before we actually start talking about Bizsu. Are you from, you're clearly French, and so when did you actually move to Asia? And what brought you to Asia?
Yeah, so I did all my studies in France. I stayed there until I was 22. I finished my master's degree there. I studied math and finance. I traveled a bit in South America. And at the time, I wanted to so I traveled because basically with my finance degree, I was willing to find a job that I liked, but everything I had available was working in a bank or for an insurance, which I didn't really want to. And so when I started to apply for some business schools when I was in South America, I just did several interviews for some business school, and I got accepted to one in Singapore. Yeah, so, so I finished traveling with my backpack, and 2 weeks after I was in Singapore.
So which business school were you at? SMU or?
It was ESSEC. So ESSEC, it's a French business school, pretty known in Europe.
Yeah.
And they have a campus here.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Wow, that's interesting. So then after you finished, did you work in Singapore or you went to Thailand, and what took you to Thailand?
Yeah, so I did my degree in Singapore, and right after I moved to Thailand. So I had an opportunity to set up a business there in what I liked. So when I was doing my so I was a sort of MBA basically that I did here in 1 year, and I had a project with UEFA, so the European Football Association.
Yeah.
And through this, I met several people working in football industry, and one of them had a business here to link companies and European football clubs. So basically helping European football clubs to find sponsors in Asia, because a lot of Asian companies are actually sponsoring football clubs in Europe.
Yeah.
And so we decided to work together, and I was in charge of Thai companies, basically being based in Bangkok. So this is how I moved there.
Okay. And how many years did you spend there?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. Yeah. And in those 4 years, other than work, you were also very involved in another project, which had something to do with plastic and how, eradicating plastic from our lives is so important for sustainability and preserving the environment. So how did you actually get into that?
Where it was basically, so I moved to Bangkok in 2015, and into the end of 2016, the king in Thailand died, and so basically the country completely stopped.
Yeah.
It's something that is not very common in many countries, but literally everything stopped. And in terms of marketing, there was no marketing at all. Like we couldn't really advertise a brand. It wasn't seen very well.
Yeah.
And so basically
the entire country was in mourning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we lost basically our client and our suppliers. So we lost our client because they didn't basically want to spend any money in advertising, and we lost our client because they knew that, and we lost our suppliers, the football clubs, because they knew that there will be no money, and so we lost everything. And basically at the time I started to learn more about waste management, because clearly being in Thailand, you see all this waste around. We are based in Singapore now, both of us, and we don't see much waste industry. We don't see much plastic. Over there it's really appealing, and you see it everywhere. And so then you start to learn about how it is managed. It's basically what happened afterwards with all these waste that we're using on a daily basis, and all these waste that we see in the street. Clearly, you know that it's like, you don't really know the answer, but you know that it's not good. And basically I spent a day researching on that, and then a week, and then a month. And I realized more and more things. I realized there were tons of things that I thought were well managed, and actually it wasn't. And basically at that time, I realized that the company that I had, the business that I had in football, was very good to me. It was like a dream job that I had. It's something that I really craved for many years, but it wasn't really helping the community. So my goal was to basically, my next business, I knew that it would be in sustainability. I knew it would be to help the environment. And at the time, I had not much knowledge, really, I would say, or credibility to start anything, or even really an idea to start. And so my goal was to make projects, sustainability project in companies, to learn experience, to get more knowledge as well before starting my own business that 3 years later, I set up, which is the one I have now,
Bizsu.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk about Bizsu. So I mean, biz, I'm assuming, is business. Oh, sustainability, right?
Exactly.
Okay, I get it. So take us through Bizsu. I understand that you have 3 main focuses, or is it 4 main focuses?
So Bizsu means where business meets sustainability.
Yeah.
And the goal is really to show companies that we need to make environmental aspect and financial aspect in both way at the same level. Basically, it's not one way or another. It's both together. If you do not work enough in sustainability, where basically it might not be good over the long term financially, and if you do not work over the financial, well, this might be harder over the short term. Basically, letting both of them help you over the short term and the long term. And if you think that sustainability is like something that money that you spend for nothing, well, the chances are that just your business in a few years might just go away, because just it happened in the past so many times. Digital era, just to start with this, because it was relatively close. if your business digitalized enough, where basically you might not exist anymore. And a lot of business failed because of this. And sustainability is the next one. And so basically our goal is to help companies into what I find relevant, what I know, what I like myself, which is in terms of plastic, in terms of food as well. So the goal is to provide better source of food to people to be healthier, and is also to protect our building, to work on building, to make them basically less energy consuming. And what we do is we collect product and solution from companies that do not exist in Singapore, from usually social enterprise that are in the region, and basically we will develop the market, we'll develop the business for them in Singapore, and we'll supply their solutions to companies here.
Okay. Can you name a couple of interesting stories in terms of,
Yes.
companies from within the region who have taken up this challenge and,
Yes.
have aligned themselves with you? So
Yes.
just a couple of, just so that the listeners get, an idea, a more concrete idea of what it is.
Yes. So for example, in terms of plastic, there was so back in Thailand, a lady, she moved to Thailand with her family, and she had 2 kids there, and they got separated with her husband, and basically she was alone with 2 kids without much experience. She couldn't speak the language, and so she decided she had to find a job, but she wanted to find something meaningful for her kids. She wanted to find something with a purpose. And she decided to create solutions to the big plastic issue that there was in Thailand, and it's still an issue now. Yeah. And so she decided to create bottle of water that will be compostable. The bottle itself will be compostable. And without using any source of plastic, it would be also healthier to drink. Because we now know that in 1 liter of water, we can find until 10,000 pieces of microplastics. Right? We know that we eat 5 grams of plastic per week, 5 grams, right? Which is the equivalent of a credit card. And so basically she decided to create this company selling these bottles to retailers and to hotels. And so we help her to distribute our bottles in Singapore.
Okay.
Yeah. Another solutions that we have that I find it fascinating as well. It's a solution for aircon. So we all have aircon at our place. And overall, 30%, so in Singapore, 30% of CO2 emissions are coming only from aircon.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. Almost a third of everything. It's way more than transportation. It's way more than agriculture. So, even eating beef and stuff is not as harmful as using aircon. So,
I'm guilty of that as well.
Well, we can all be, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so basically we have a solution helping us to reduce by up to 50% or aircon consumption. And so basically this is a natural solution. So the lifespan of the product is unlimited, in the sense that the product will stay way more on the planet than us. And and it helps companies as well, in the sense that companies pay us according to the saving that they make. So if you save tomorrow 30%, if we see that you can save 30% thanks to this, you pay us back 15, and 15% is your own benefit every day. So it means that you start saving money, right? From the first day. You start saving energy. And so at the same time, you can also communicate on the fact that you are doing good for the environment. And so your brand image is improved as well. So it's basically a no-brainer. It's for companies, it's literally amazing. And for individuals, it works as well. Now we are focusing more on companies for this, because Bizsu, it's also yes. Yeah, and the way we are B2B, actually, it's because in my past experience with big companies and Thailand is that basically I have seen that people are not powerful enough as a group to really have a certain weight on the environment, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about it, right? Yeah. Government always take some time before moving on. Any government, they always need several years before applying the laws. So for what we see in France, it's around 4 to 5 years. So we know there is a gap. We know there is a lag, right? And companies are the most powerful actors on the market. They have the money, they have the power to act, and it's in their own interest, actually, to move on. Because again, if you don't do it, tomorrow you might not be there, or you might just be in trouble.
Yeah.
And we see a lot of companies, right, who like that understood it pretty well. We see now Total, for example, or BP, right, in the oil and gas industry. They understood this pretty well, and they decided to change their name, and they decided to change their whole strategy for the next 30 years, right? Yeah. They plan 30 years ahead, and they know that they have to be way more sustainable. And basically our goal was to target companies, because this is where we can really make an impact on our community. It's by targeting companies.
So basically what you're saying is that it's important to spread the awareness, build a community, and to start with a B2B kind of approach, and then that filters to people in general. So that's really the whole outlook of what you're trying to do. You're listening to a fusion of stories recounted for the first time ever by some fascinating people from across the globe with me, Payal, on this very unique and special podcast series, Melting Pot.
What I have seen in the past is I was working for a big retail company in Thailand. They are literally everywhere. And we decided to stop plastic bags for the whole group, right? And after long discussion internally, we realized that there was a financial interest for the company to move on. And so we implemented a new policy where in 500 stores, there will be no plastic bag given away.
So 500 stores across the globe?
Across the country, across Thailand.
So there are 500 of this company's stores in Thailand.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they had way more than this, but it was.
It was like a project to experiment with. Just 500 out of the.
Yeah, only not much. It was already a big thing. And basically all the media across the country talked about it. And what we have seen was fabulous, in the sense that we initiated the campaign on a Friday, and on a Monday, on the next Monday, the main competitor followed the same trend. On Tuesday, another one. On Wednesday, another one. On Thursday, another one. And in a week, the whole retail industry changed, which means basically it changed the whole country. Wow. Right.
Wow.
And a month after, the government passed a law to ban plastic bag in the country. Just a month after. So what it means is that we all look at each other, all companies look at each other, we all know what's going on. as soon as a company start to move on,
Yeah.
the others have to follow. And then you have this domino effect,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's the first one pushing the second one, and then it just goes on and on.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what we have seen, and this is exactly what happens in the world overall. It's every action that we
Has it?
take,
Yeah. Yeah.
every step that a company can make has an impact not only on our own business but on the whole community, on the whole stakeholders. And this is fabulous, and this is also why we are the goal is to work with companies, because this is amazing. Actually, it's what we call the wheel of change as well. It's basically you change an aspect that will have an impact on another one, and this is like it's a circle
Yeah.
that's
It's a circle.
aliments itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is basically our objective. This is why we exist.
I've noticed that you've now got a tie up with Lazada in Singapore. So
Yeah.
it's a lot. There's clearly e-commerce, right? Is what the direction is, and so you are encouraging smaller companies who are working towards sustainability and who have brought about change. You're trying to have a footprint of these companies in Singapore, right?
Well, basically, we mostly work with big companies. So we work now with Shangri-La, we work with Keppel, for example, which is pretty known in Singapore.
No, but the
Um,
companies that I mean, so you work with big companies when it comes to infrastructure, right? Or
yeah,
is it no, what I'm trying to say is that the
yes,
companies, like you mentioned, the lady in Thailand who's now,
yes,
the bottles that she's making,
yes,
right?
yes,
So there's no plastic. So these are being supplied to,
yes.
right?
So that's another part of the business as well, is that basically by focusing on actually companies, we got requests from individuals. And so basically, we also decided to make our product available online and on different e-commerce platform to also for people to take advantage of what we are doing.
Okay, yeah. So
So
basically, it's not, I mean, it is, yeah, your main focus is big companies, but it's
yeah,
also filtering now to individuals. And in that sense, a community is being built, for the individuals as well to be. So do you think there is enough awareness? And do you think people have there is this, people are now getting more conscious from when you started to now with
yeah.
your experience? Like, what is your feedback?
So clearly, is there enough awareness? Where no, because because sustainability is very complex, and even professional do not have enough awareness actually. And and we just say it all the time. It's because it's so broad that a lot of people don't know enough. I mean, we all not know enough, and nobody can really claim to be an expert at this. You are an expert once the problem is solved. I think it's Dan Ariely who no, it's Simon Sinek explaining this. Is that you can claim yourself an expert once a problem is solved, but climate change, we didn't solve this problem, so nobody can claim to be an expert at it. We are all students of it. We are all learning constantly about it. So clearly, is there enough awareness? No. And is it improving? Yes, clearly. It's like just over the last 2 years, it changed a lot. Even just with the pandemic, just
I was
people starting
actually,
to
I was
realize.
going to ask. I was going to
Yeah,
ask if the pandemic and what kind of a response you've had from it. Are people becoming more careful? Are they seeing things differently now?
no doubt about it. It's a statistics that I like is that it was mid of 2020. is 3/4 of Americans, 75% of Americans feel that they need to do more for the environment once the pandemic happened.
Wow.
That's huge.
That is,
That's
yeah,
drastic.
that is, yeah.
And where, of course, the US is the biggest polluter of the planet, but clearly we will see the same type of trend in many other countries. In all the OECD countries, I reckon it would be the same. And we see in Asia, for example, way more people stopping meat and eating plant-based meat, for example. It's really booming right now. And in this linked to the pandemic, it really changed. It really changed a lot. We see also people being way more careful about plastic, where it was the case already before that, but I would say it's even stronger now. It's mostly, I would say, about food. For this it changed a lot. Like, where is my food coming from? Is it coming from the other side of the world, or is it more like local? What type of food it is? Is it linked to deforestation or not? Right? Because clearly nobody wants to have another COVID later on. And we know that this could have, I mean, it could be linked in a way or another. So clearly this has had a big impact on people. And actually another thing of this is now we see also more in terms of fashion, for example. Where is my my jeans? Where are my jeans made? We know that jeans, it's one of the most polluting clothes that we can wear, right? So I will basically cross the globe 1.5 times before arriving to us, right? And without talking about all the chemicals and stuff that I use. And so we see it as well in consumption overall. People are more careful, and they are not really consumers, I would say. They are more into consume actors. They want to act in the way they consume. And I believe that it's a trend that it's only starting. And this is also why companies need to comply with this, because people are getting more and more strict about what they want. They are getting more and more aware of what's happening, and so they want to act more and more in a much more significant way.
Yeah, and in a more responsible way.
In a way more responsible way. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's a trend that I believe is really starting now, and in the next 5 to 10 years, it will be very different from where we are today.
Wow, it's heartening to see how Bizsu is also striding and making waves and trying to get ahead with things. And I'm mindful of time. I know you have an appointment. So I'm going to say that I really enjoyed this sort of listening to you, Brice, because I think it's very important that everyone needs to play a part. And in a small way, I guess I'm playing a part as well through Melting Pot to get your message out there to, the listeners from all over the world who will probably will definitely pick up from what you have to say. And I think you're absolutely right. We all need to be responsible for the environment. And if we can do it individually as well, for you're kind of working on a very different scale, but it's also reaching out to individuals. And I think we all have a part to play in it. And you're playing absolutely phenomenal part in taking strides towards a better world, a better planet. And I think it's wonderful. So thank you so much, Brice. I'm really grateful for this chat. Thank you.
A good chat between two people happen only with two good people, I would say. And I needed to have great questions from you to bring the best answers that I could. So Very much.
I think I don't think you needed good questions. I think you're passionate about what you're doing. So it's the passion that comes through. So thank you once again, Brice. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you. See you later.
See you later. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
For more weekly conversations, do listen to Melting Pot on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Follow us on YouTube and on Instagram at Podcast Melting Pot. So until the next episode, this is Payal signing off.